Hi guys, welcome back to the Once You're In podcast special Q&A episode brought to you by Pepsi Max Raspberry. As you can see, we've luckily been sponsored by the kind guys over at Pepsi. So thanks guys for the sponsorship and the huge amount of money support that you're paying us.
Yeah, for the Pepsi Maxes that we now have to keep at the front of the table.
Imagine if it got to that point in this podcast.
Ridiculous. I don't think Pepsi would want to work with us, to be fair.
Maybe like My Protein.
Yeah, Kyber. Kyber.
Kyber. Kyber.
Robbie, hook us up. We'll go for that. Yeah. Right, so, questions.
Q&A.
Yeah, Q&A.
Do you want to quickly just talk about that?
So Instagram has, I don't know, I think it's new. But basically, I had a dude, ELG Simo, reply a photo of him just hitting the most muscular. You won't be able to see, but he's hitting the most muscular. And it's quite funny because I actually got asked another question regarding pretty much you need to do so Tyron Healing Official. I feel like that's not a real Tyron Healing. It doesn't feel like a tyrant.
Feels like he's gonna one of them. It's gonna get you.
Yeah. No, but he's competed before. Like he's got photos of him at a PCA show. So Tyron Healing. That doesn't sound like a name. Imagine my name's Tyron Healing. Like that doesn't sound like a name.
Most people don't introduce their first and second name.
But anyway, you guys should start doing Rate Your Physiques, like 3 per pod. I think it would be nice, spelled N-A-I-C-E. So nice. And now the fact that Instagram you can reply photos, that's actually quite good because it means we can say, right, what we can do is we can say do like let's say a Rate Your Physiques episode, or like part of the podcast, part of the Q&A can be a Rate Your Physiques. You can send through your favourite photo. We can have a look. We can send them through to Sam to whack them up on the screen, and then also we can actually have a look at their account and see, because they might just pick a good photo. Like for example, the back photo I uploaded today. Look, so lean. When in reality, you see me normally, you go, Jesus Christ, push harder, bro. So yeah, this would be quite good. So Instagram's clearly got a new feature where you can now reply to question boxes with photos, which is a bit odd. So like, ask me a question and you put a photo.
Yeah, but it's perfect for us to just put we're doing rate your physique. Add photo below.
Add your favourite photo, and we'll go from there. So yeah,
we could make a full episode on it, or we could even just like start doing it as a. I want to get to the point with the podcast where we have like a structure.
Okay.
So like we do different sections or sectors. What's the word? Like, if you're watching a TV program, they've got different. There's a word for it. It's not sectors or sections, but
modules.
It's not modules. I don't know what the word is. Somebody will, but basically you have different like features. I guess that could kind of be it. I'd like to do that, especially when we get guests on. Like I said, we almost have like an icebreaker thing. Then we do like 3 Rate Your Physiques.
Yeah.
And then we like obviously just chat
like on the overlap with Gary Neville. It's like, right, so we've got a bruise is a whatever. You know that one? It's like,
bruise is a.
I don't know what it is.
No, failure's a bruise, not a tattoo.
Yeah. Like, so now you've got to say this as a part of the.
Exactly. Though, like it gives it more structure.
Different segments. That's what.
Segments. Yeah, I think that's what I was
looking for. So
like an orange.
Yeah. Right. Do you want to start us off, mate?
Yeah. Please explain in the most scientific way.
Oh, there we go.
Great. Why we want high GI carbs post-workout.
What scientific? Can we not just be simple and just say, well, if we think about...
No, Ben Ridgers wants the most scientific way.
I've not got enough energy.
Well, you do simple and then I'll try and fill in the gaps with some science.
Okay. So basically, post-workout, our glycogen stores are going to be depleted, or in a more depleted state, and we're going to be wanting to soak up nutrients. So as a result of that, what we want to do is we basically want a fast-acting carbohydrate source, in the sense of something like cereal, something sugary, to pretty much replenish those glycogen stores as fast and as efficiently as possible, and therefore start the recovery process in immediate effect. You wouldn't want to have a massive amount of fat and potentially, let's say, a slower digesting carb source, because it can impair recovery by just the general sort of our body's ability to break it down and taking a bit more time.
Simple.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a blend. Like, it's not that scientific, but it's not that simple. It's in the middle.
Yeah, so to add to that, I would say after a bout of exercise, whether it be resistance training, whether it be even cardiovascular training, but obviously if we're looking at in our realm, we're looking at bodybuilding, so resistance training. So basically carbohydrates are shuttled. Obviously, this is like whenever you consume food, carbohydrates and nutrients are going to be shuttled around the body with the help of things like water. Obviously, your blood helps shuttle the nutrients around, water, sodium or electrolyte levels. And then we basically have something called GLUT or GLUT4, which is
It's going to be heightened post-workout.
Yeah,
that's
very-
coaching. Coaches love that.
very simply put, it is like your ability to uptake carbs is going to be greater when your GLUT4 levels or receptors are more sort of, if you like, the sort of ability to increase or the ability to eat more carbs is going to be easier, if you like, post-workout, because your GLUT4 levels are going to be, or GLUT4 levels are going to be greater. Like, that is the most sciencey I want to go in terms of what I'm going to be like, how I can try and make it sound simple. So basically, it's like, well, when is the best time in the day to eat more carbs? Realistically, theoretically, post-workout. So it makes sense to eat more carbs post-workout. How is it easier to get more carbs in? Probably have a higher GI carb source.
Yes.
So if you're having a low GI carb source, you're probably going to struggle to get more carbs in. So that's kind of why it makes sense. But like ultimately, it depends on the phase as well. Like, I'll have clients who, when they're dieting and they're not on a lot of food, like, I'm not like, make sure you have your cereal post-workout. No, just have a carb source. If anything, have something that's probably going to fill you up a little bit more. So maybe lower GI, maybe higher fibre, more satiating. So it's not essential, but it makes a lot of sense post-workout to have a high amount of carbohydrates in a short-term setting. That setting doesn't have to be within half an hour. It doesn't have to be within 4 hours, but it makes sense to have it closer to the workout as long as digestion's okay.
Well, the main aim is going to be to literally replenish glycogen stores. So you don't want it to be like, ideally, like a second after you finish training. Last set, straight away.
The thing is, you're going to replenish those stores in the next 2 days regardless. And like you said, they're never going to be completely diminished.
And also
when are we going to fill up these
carbohydrates.
stuff?
Yeah, exactly. And carbohydrates aren't also just immediate. It's not like we have 5 grams of carbs and instantly they're sucked straight into what we've just trained. It's going to be a case of what occurs over the next few meals, the next few hours, when we're sleeping. And likewise, just because we trained, even if you've had the hardest session of your life, I highly doubt there's going to be a case, battery's died on that one, I highly doubt there's ever going to be a case where we were to really assess and think we need all that food to be shuttled in immediately because there's zero glycogen and likewise glycogen available. We're still going to have some present. It's part of it where I think a lot of people can over-assess and over-analyse. But as Finn said, like, just keep it simple in the sense of you want to have your carbohydrates when you're going to be able to assimilate them in the best spot possible. That's going to be when GLUT4 is at a highest point, which is post-workout. And as a result of that, if you're in a gaining phase and you can get in a good amount of carbs post-workout, makes sense. In a diet, recovery is probably going to be something you want to make sure to stay on top of for performance. So therefore, have them post-workout and go for something that's going to be easy to get in relative to the phase.
Yeah, and it also, like, it makes sense to probably eat as soon as your heart rates come down and you're in a more relaxed state to actually digest food. I wouldn't wait any longer than that. So if that's 20 minutes, cool. If it's an hour, cool. If it's 5 minutes, cool.
Yeah.
Like, eat when you feel ready post-workout, as soon as you can.
Yeah. Good one, mate. Right. Your current split.
That's weird. I was just looking at my question, and my question started with your current. I was like, so you're the same one.
Yeah. So what's your current split, bro? What's your training split, man?
Monday's push and arms. Tuesday is legs, more quad dominant. Wednesday is back, a bit of side delts, bit of arms. Or to be fair, back and a bit of delts, bit of arms. Because I've got a bit of rear delts in there. Thursday is rest day. Today's Thursday. Friday is legs, more quad dominant again. And then Saturday is
density.
a posterior day.
Density day.
I don't call it density.
Density day.
Posterior for me. So it's basically back, glutes, hamstrings.
Fair enough.
I say those leg days are more quad dominant, but they do have glutes and hamstrings involved, but they are more quad dominant.
Yeah, makes sense. For me, Monday is push. Used to be push and arms. Now it's just push, believe it or not. So push. Tuesday's lower. Wednesday, pull, delts and biceps. Thursday, rest. Today's Thursday. Copying you. Friday, push, and then Saturday, pull. So fairly similar. Like, the setup is pretty much the same. The only difference is I do push on a Friday, where Finn does his quads pretty much, or lower, but more so quad focus on a Friday. And then there's a few kind of caveats to how we have our kind of week set up. So on Saturday, for example, mine's just a pull session with a hip hinge, where with fins there's a bit more hamstring work and stuff like that, and that's literally just a case of kind of set up relative to our needs, and it works quite well. Like we've ran this split now for the last, like we both had the same setup of sessions.
The period wasn't there where we were like trying to get our sessions to match up, and like it wasn't working, and then I'd like be like, right, I'm going to train like at this gym or whatever. It was just a bit of a ball ache, but we kind of just got to the point where we're like, right, most of our sessions kind of line up. We can do most movements together, and when we don't, we don't.
Yeah, the only session we don't train together is Friday.
Yeah.
And even
then we're there at the same time.
Yeah, we're there at the same time, same gym. And to be fair, when I was injured at the start of prep, we were actually doing that session together, which was actually really good fun.
Yeah, that leg session was good.
Yeah, so that'll be the case of like how it'll be for this prep and for me, and then likewise into prep for Finn. Like I can't imagine there's going to be a massive amount of change. I think potentially when we're both in an off season, we could reassess and see. Like we've spoke a few times about going to like 4 times per week again, and I think it would actually be quite enjoyable if we were to have like just a day set up around like just pressing, then like a day set around just pulling. And then we had like maybe I have one lower session if I'm still in physique.
Just around the podcast.
Yeah, day set up around the podcast. Yeah, no, that'd be good. But yeah, either way, it was a case where like pretty much what we were going to do moving forward was potentially like we'd reassess after we're both done with competing, but for this year. But for this prep for me, and then likewise, Finn will be kind of when I'm done with prep, Finn will be in the trenches of prep. We'll be kind of continuing with this, and it's been literally the case. It's funny because like my technical training mezzo, even though things have tweaked and changed, but my actual split design has been the same for the last like 2 years. Which I think some people would be like, I need a new split, I need to do this.
We say like very, very rarely would we change our split. Like maybe it's changed very slightly from like when I started off season, but not really. It's been like, right, what do I need more of? Okay, here. Right, let's just focus
6
on
months
that.
Later, well, I still need more. Still need more. No.
Well, I've said this before. There's a reason why you need more through those body parts. Like it's probably because genetically they're harder areas for you to grow. Maybe you're not that strong through those body parts. Like, for example, with me, like with my lower body, like it's come on a hell of a lot, but it's still weak compared to my upper body because it was really weak compared to my upper body.
Yeah.
So like, it's not just going to happen in a year where all of a sudden, I just prioritise my legs and now they're incredible and my upper body's shit. Like, it doesn't work like that unless you're genetically elite and you can do a meso and everything grows. Yeah. Like, or the area.
Or a specialisation block.
Do a posterior specialisation block, and all of a sudden you've got a massive posterior chain.
And then all of a sudden the next specialisation block is like something completely different because you just have completely new weaknesses.
You've lost it completely.
Yeah, it's a complete strength. It's when you see someone have like a 6 months off season, they're like turning a weakness to a strength, and it's like, no, it's
and then they diet again, it looks bad again.
Yeah.
It's like, but you just got fat.
Yeah, you just got fat, and you thought the fat helped, and in reality, your bag's still shit. So sort it out. That's actually what people. Some people just need to be told that, like, your bag's still shit, mate. Come on.
This is from Giacomo Bigotti. You know that guy, don't you? He's asked questions a lot. He's a good lad. Yeah. So he asked your current caffeine intake, and then he put, by the way, thanks for the podcast, guys. Thank you, mate. Thank you for watching and listening.
Caffeine content for me is pretty consistent year-round bar periods of prep. Right now it's a bit higher, just based off the fact of literally just a little bit of a less energy availability, but therefore caffeine goes up. In my gaining phase, so prior to prep, it was 150 milligrams of caffeine twice per week. So it was a white monster on 2 rest days. I had no caffeine away from that. We've always said like
products on training.
Yeah, just pump products. Like literally, I used to always run a stimulant-based pre, and I was noticing like, especially when performance was really, really high, and not more so appetite, but just general feel, like how I felt after my training sessions. Like when I was at absolute peak volume, peak performance, the amount of times I'd finish up at the gym and I'd like mentally just be absolutely ruined. And I was like, I think it was just a case of getting myself up for that many sets. And I went on holiday to Turkey and I trained in the morning, and it was a case where like obviously no stimulants. And I remember like I trained really, really well. And even after, like, granted, the training intensity is not going to be the exact same, but I was still getting up for big sets and still training hard. And I remember, like, I'd literally train in the mornings, and for the rest of the day, I'd feel, like, really mentally, like, still at it, where when I was, like, let's say, training before, I'd be ruined after I was training. I was awful. Like, my head just was, like, a constant mess. So I was like, right, I'm taking out all stims. Like, there's no need. Like, my body fat levels were higher because I'm in a gaining phase. My energy availability was high, so I was like, I don't need stimulants at this point. And I took them out. So it was literally a white monster on rest day, just because my rest days are a little bit more workload dependent or demandant based off actually me being present at a laptop talking. And then pretty much in prep, it's a case of just slow escalations up when needed. So for example, on a train day currently, I'll have 1 tab of like a caffeine, pretty much like caffeine supplement in the morning, just with my other lipolytics. So that's, I think, 100 milligrams. I'll have a Monster and then half a scoop of pre. So if I was to work that out, 250 and then 125, so 375 milligrams, which, to be fair, is probably the most I'd ever really want to go up to. And that's not, no, it's funny, but that's to some people would be like, oh, that's not that much at all. Some people get 500 milligrams of caffeine in daily, but it's like, I'd rather not have that personally.
I think you used to have a lot more.
Yeah, I used to definitely have more. Like, I feel like we probably both did, like when we were younger. Like, I used to be the kind of guy that I'd literally neck like 2 scoops of pre at silly times. Neck a bird. Yeah, two scoops of pre. I have to neck a few birds. 2 scoops of pre, and then like down it with a white Monster, and be like, why is my sleep not the best? But I feel like when you've gone from that, and especially the way we train, like, me being stimmed out my mind is not going to help me train. If anything, it's going to take away from the session. It's going to take away from recovery capabilities. My appetite might be skewed. It's just not going to be ideal. So, yeah, currently it's half a scoop of pre, stimulant-based pre, a white Monster, and then 1 caffeine tab per day on training days. Non-train days, just 1 to 2 Monsters per day. Usually 1. If I've got a busier day, I might have 2, but so that'll be 300 milligrams. So, yeah, it's part of it. So that's my current caffeine setup. What about yourself, mate? You have a black coffee in the morning?
That's it. Yeah.
You haven't had a stimulant pre in years, have you?
I think after I competed, I took it out, didn't I?
Yeah.
Well, when I was pushing back up, like for the same reasons as you, I remember saying to you, I was like, I've not had a stim pre for ages, and it's just habit. It becomes habit, and it's like, do you even need it? Like, so I took it out, and I was like, I feel better. My sessions are just as good, if not better. Like, there's no difference. I wasn't noticing like, oh, I've taken caffeine out, and now my session's gone to shit. Like, if anything, I felt better. I felt like I had more composure, and I didn't feel absolutely battered at the end of the session. And my appetite was better, and like you say, just general sort of cognition at the end of the day was better. I didn't feel like I was crashing at the end of the day. So yeah, at the minute I have literally just a black coffee in the morning, which, if I was to guess, it's maybe about 80 milligrams, if that, to be honest. It's literally just 1 like black coffee pod, and I kind of chop and change, so it'll slightly change based on the intensity that I use, but usually it's like, if you were to buy the pods, you'll know what I mean. It's usually from like 8 to 12. I like the stronger ones, but still, they're not like stupid strong. So I imagine it's about maybe 60 to 100 milligrams maximum, and that might be like shooting on the higher side, to be honest. And that's it. I'll definitely have more throughout my prep, like exactly what Reece was saying. As energy availability drops, you're not going to need it, but it's definitely going to be beneficial. You're going to need something to help. So yeah, it's very likely that I'll be having a little bit more caffeine as I get leaner. Next question, Macamorris. I swear Macamorris is out to get me.
Really?
Yeah, you ready?
What's he said?
Who's more likely to win more shows this year out of you two?
Yeah, I think we answered that.
Last week it was like, who's gonna be more successful this year? Like, Macca, Reece. All right, I've told you, it's not me, it's Reece.
You don't know, mate. You never know.
I'm ready, to be fair.
Standards at some natural shows,
mate. That's the exact opposite of what I was going to say. The standards at the natty shows, especially the ones that I'm going to be doing, are a lot higher. I'm not saying that in relation they're higher to the one, especially the PCA one that you'll be doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, they are higher standard. They're not higher in absolute terms. They're higher in relative terms. Yeah. So I mean, we'll have to wait and see. He did put back your corners, so I'm going to back myself. Me.
Yeah.
Nah, you got to back it.
Well, mate,
back it up with some info.
I'm going to be competing at the top level of amateurs, so therefore me, bro.
So am I in natural bodybuilding.
Yeah, but you're just turning up and just saying, oh yeah, can you judge me against them? But you're not really getting judged. It's not competing. You're just going to turn up and they're going to go, second call out.
What? Because it's natural, because of me?
No, because of you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're going to be like, second call out.
Yeah.
You know, okay. The step up and...
Mate, they're going to look at you. They're going to look at you.
Get too big.
No, they're going to go, he looks absolutely nothing like us on social media.
Yeah, why does his back look so peeled on that recent Instagram photo? Why is he so soft?
They know that anyway. Everybody knows.
But then I can say, I just didn't peak correctly. I was
everybody knows, mate.
10 minutes before I was ready. No, mate, honestly, 10 minutes before I was ready.
What you looked like when you've structured it 100 times and then screenshot it.
Exactly, it looked exactly the same. But then I just had water retention. Yeah. I took too much of a diazide and just...
You are the definition of like an Instagram bodybuilder. You know, when they turn up and it's like, he looks nothing like he actually looks.
No, I'd say I look better in person.
You definitely don't.
I definitely do, mate. I've never met anybody, genuinely, who has ever said to me, I look better on Instagram, other than what you just said there. Jack Eagles and Danny, when I posed, they were literally like, "What the fuck? This is so much better than in person."
But
on Instagram. Anyone I posed with, Josh Croggan, literally was said the same. He was like, "Jesus Christ, your photos don't do you justice."
Nah, I'm not lying to you.
Honestly,
I mean, it's because on the screen.
You see me,
that big.
but you see me every time, mate. You don't see the freak factor. I'm such a mutant. I'm such a mutant. So yeah, no. In all seriousness, I don't really know because my prep could be done in 3 shows. It might be more. Finn's prep.
I'm just going to keep doing shows until I've won more. I'm going to do all.
One more, like you're going to win. Maybe just focus on
until I've won more shows.
Until you've won one, not just
wait until you win one, mate.
Well, I have won one.
I'm on about this year. You said about this year. Who's more likely to win more shows this year?
Oh, this year. Not about recently, Reece. Previously, no, it's this year.
About previously.
Well, it's like they say, you're only as good as your recent showing.
Yeah.
So, like, the second I compete again,
you got beat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, by a freak who wasn't a junior.
Oh yeah.
You
That's like one about.
Yeah. And to be fair, Macca actually messaged me about that, saying I should have beat him based off structure and PCA.
You shouldn't.
I shouldn't have. But Macca said that I should have beat him, so therefore I should have beat him. So technically,
you could like on the day it was like it was obvious he'd won.
Yeah, I agree. But I would like to have seen the
judges' scorecards.
I would like to have seen those scorecards. Right. Yeah. So
Jack Piat was because I shouldn't have placed.
Yeah, this is an awful question. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. Do you agree with Ryan Carter's stretch-mediated hypertrophy post/podcast episode?
You hate everybody's question.
I actually haven't listened to it. No, but it's like, why? I'm not being horrible, but I haven't watched it, so I don't know.
What was the question?
Ryan Carter's stretch-mediated hypertrophy post/podcast episode. Do you even know?
Post up.
Do you know who Ryan Carter is?
I don't know who Ryan Carter is.
No,
Should we?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
It's not a name that's got us, has it? Ryan Carter. We're not saying anything stupid.
Ryan Carter PT, 300 followers. Don't think it's him. Ryan Carter, 436,000 followers. Who is Ryan Carter? Mobile phone bacteria. What to eat when you're at a petrol station?
What's his stretch mediated hypertrophy post?
I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to pop up for some reason. So, yeah.
Give us more context. Is he pro, or is he against it? Is he for doing stretch mediated hypertrophy training, or is he against it?
Yeah. This is the thing, I wouldn't entirely know. And without me watching, the reason why I said it's a bad question is because I haven't watched, I wouldn't want to comment.
Well, let's change the question.
Okay.
Are you somebody who thinks doing stretch mediated hypertrophy training is a good idea? Do you incorporate any of it into your training or for clients?
I think there's going to be some benefits. It's the same, for example, if you were to ask me, are there going to be some benefits towards cold shower therapy and stuff like that in relation, maybe not to hypertrophy, but in relation to potentially other benefits of life. You can understand and go, potentially, maybe you could look at X, Y, and Z. However, I don't have enough knowledge in the area because I haven't really researched enough, and personally I haven't implemented it myself, so I haven't got an opinion against my own kind of anecdotal experience, or likewise with clients, and therefore I wouldn't really want to comment on some things. I can openly say I don't really know enough about it to kind of pretend and go, yeah, I do think this. I don't do it, so as a result of that, I don't really believe in it. But that might be through ignorance, it might be through lack of knowledge. I'd personally say, if you were to look at the people that, let's say, if you, for example, if you were to look at the top level, I mean, FST7, is that going to be, but that FST7 isn't set up regarding just stretching, and that's fascia stretching. You could look at it and think I think there's definitely going to be benefits behind loaded stretches towards the latter end of sessions. If you look at something like Dante Trudel and the stuff that he's put up on his Instagram, more so probably in 2020, 2019, etc. When a muscle is, let's say, in its most pliable state post-workout, holding a deep stretch, I think can have some benefits. But then also I'd really question, for most situations, could you not just use that time to do another set that's going to be a high quality and effective sort of stimulatory effect of a set? And that's what I'd probably look for. So, yeah. I feel like you threw me under the bus there, bro. I felt like it was what do you think? Do you like it? Do you do it?
You could, yeah, I didn't throw you under the bus. I think you answered that really well.
Yeah, I think I did answer that well. But you kind of were coming at me like the guy who's asked me the question. Ryan, do you look at Mr. Carter? Do you want to answer? What do you think?
Take off my mask.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware about it, is that in probably the last year, it seems to be quite popular. I'm like Reece, I don't know a huge amount about it. I've heard bits about it on podcasts. I've read up small parts of it. I think the initial idea came from a study which was stretching out wings of birds.
Is this like after a set? So is this after every set?
No, it's not after every set. Like, I think generally, like how it is promoted and structured, or at least recommended in regards to how you structure it into training, would be basically doing like some form of lengthened sort of exercise and pausing at the end of that given set or at the end of that given session for those body parts. And like I say, I'm pretty sure the idea came about from a study which was on about like stretching bird wings and then growing. I might be wrong, but I'm sure I read that and heard about that in the podcast.
On Ryan Carter's stretch mediated.
No, I don't know who Ryan Carter is. No. I don't know who Ryan Carter is. I'm pretty sure it was on Revive Stronger.
Yeah.
Shout out Steve, CMP teammate Steve. Yeah.
Steve
Hall, the boy. So anyway, as far as I'm aware, like it is quite a new thing, maybe in the past year or so, which is similar to what you were saying with like, you know, Dante's stretch training, like DC style training and stuff like that, where you'd incorporate those stretches. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think if you have time at the end of a session, then cool. You know, add in a couple of stretches here or there. Like Reece was saying, it's not just like going and doing a groin stretch, like, oh, I'll just, you know, stretch my head up, so I'll open the gate at the end of a session. Like, you're actually going to be loading that muscle. So, for example, doing like the bottom of a pec fly with dumbbells at the end of a chest session, or potentially doing a quad stretch. So what I've actually recently incorporated it, you know, at the end of my leg sessions when you're posing, I'll do a quad stretch. So I basically go to the...
We were doing that 2 years ago, though.
Yeah, exactly.
But we've had periods, and we should actually mention this, we've had periods where...
We've done it and not been
when we were limited with either load or availability of exercises, like during the lockdowns, I remember us doing single arm tricep extensions. We did a quad stretch after our leg extension on the lower session, where you literally just like got onto your knees.
Remember we did it at Warehouse?
Oh, that was brutal. Yeah. We used to do a leg. What was the leg extension that we used to do?
It was Nautilus.
No, but what did
it wasn't. It was the Life Fit one before they got rid of it.
What was the
I think we just used to do like a double drop set, and then we used to get off and do a 30-second.
And the double drop was like 50 reps total or something brutal. It wasn't like our double drop set from an 8 rep. It was like 25 reps, 20 reps, 20 reps again. It was something horrible. And then into a quad stretch. I remember actually an Instagram post that you posted, because I showed a few clients like what we used to do on like a check-in. And I remember like literally, I remember what I was wearing.
Soon,
it was December that actually.
Yeah, I'll come around next December.
Next December, so we gotta wait. So yeah, but yeah, we definitely have had periods like we're not against it. We don't really know enough in the sense of like maybe newer sort of research and nuance of how it's applied.
I think that there is benefit to it, but then you could think, like you were saying, there's so many things that you could argue there is benefit to, and it's almost like you've got to pick what you want to do. Like you could do so many different things and try and optimize absolutely everything that you do, but it's difficult. And it's even difficult to sort of quantify it. Like, for example, you know, let's say you start doing like with me, doing a quad stretch at the end of my leg session. Let's say in 3 months' time, I realise that my quads have grown a lot. I'm not going to go, oh, it must be that stretch.
No.
I'm going to look at my leg press and go, well, I've added 4 plates to that leg press. I'm going to look at, you know, my belt squat and go, well, I've taken that from 4 plates to 7 plates, 8 plates. Like, I'm not just going to put it solely down to the stretch.
It all adds into a framework of what we're doing, and I think nowadays, unfortunately, it is a trend to be like, I did this and it's completely changed everything. And it's like,
think I was the first one to do it. It's like gatekeeping. Like, you know, you've got to get into the club. You've got to know about it. Like, I say, I've researched a bit on it. I've heard a bit about it on podcasts. I think if you have the time and if you want to do it, then cool. I quite like doing it at the end of legs because it feels nice. Like, I actually like that stretch in my quad. Like after I've trained legs, and you can argue as well, it's potentially going to help with blood flow and removal of waste products and recovery and reducing soreness, things like that. But then I'm not going to go to all my clients, oh, you've got to do stretches at the end of quads or the end of legs now. Final point on it, I do think there's certain exercises that you wouldn't do it, like, or certain things that you wouldn't do it, or certain body parts that you wouldn't want to do it.
What's the worst exercise you'd do a load stretch upon? What would be like the one you go, no chance?
What's like horrendously heavy in the length and where you just hurt yourself?
I'm going to say a horizontal leg press.
Just rounding your lower back.
A vertical leg press. Yeah. You end up like perforating your arsehole.
Yeah, there's no wrong with that.
No chance. But
there's like certain body parts that it just wouldn't really be that beneficial doing it on. Like or I wouldn't really recommend. Like upper back, probably not. You're not going to get a huge amount out of that. Like if you think about when you're stretching your upper back, do you really feel a good stretch in your upper back? Not really. No. Like whereas when you're stretching your quad, you can get a real intense stretch. Same with hamstrings. Like what I also do at the end of my sets on hamstrings, especially on a Saturday, and the last set at the end of the session, literally the last thing that I do.
Some body partials.
Is I do some partials, but then I also finish the set in a stretch and just lean forward. So I'm already sat in the machine, my quads are locked in, like I can't escape basically, and then I'll just create more hip flexion and lean forward and keep my chest up, and then I'll just sit in a stretch there as well. So there are certain things where I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to do it. It's at the end of a session, it's not going to create too much fatigue, and it's like, is there potential benefit? Who knows? Let's try it and run with it for a bit. But again, I wouldn't be like, oh, you've got to do it. But we're not like that with anything. No. There's literally nothing where we would go, what, you're not doing that? Yeah. Like maybe basics like going to sleep and like eating, but you know, otherwise we won't be like, you've got to do this. Yeah. I think we might talk about something like your basic structure. We might speak like that, but we wouldn't ever be like, you've got to do this exercise, or you've got to eat this exact certain food or anything like that. Yeah. You've got to take gear.
Got to.
Have you got any good questions left or not?
Well, that was my question, believe it or not, mate. So it's up to you. Got a few more.
Musa Moha, you versus Reece at go-karting. Who wins?
Me. I back myself. Yeah. I'm good at go-karting, but I'm not saying no. I'm pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm heavier than you.
Yeah.
Do you reckon you'd beat me?
So my only go-karting experience is when I was about 16, and I went in when I was in Spain with my mate, or my mates, and they'd all like been before, and like even Matt, so the guy whose villa it is, he's like got a massive garden, so he'd like practice in his dad's car in the garden and stuff. So like they could all kind of drive. I had no clue, so I was awful.
Okay.
Like I'd smashed through the tyres, I hit into a tree. Like honestly, mate.
Really?
Yeah, I was talking about this the other day because my sister went go-karting, so I was telling her about this.
How can you not drive? Like, it's just like...
Mate, I was a kid. Like imagine you.
I feel like the first time I ever went in a go-kart, I was like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this.
Yeah, I was awful.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was like 15, maybe younger, maybe 14, 15, and I'd never done it. And because I was so small and so light, it was going rapid. Like I was tiny. I was like 5 foot, and I had no muscle. I was tiny, but all of them were like normal lads. You know what I mean? At that age. So like down the straights, I'd overtake. I was absolutely. It was a joke. And then I didn't know how to control it because I was going that fast down the straight. So I ended up like in a tree.
I've gone go-karting loads.
You're told not to get out or anything, are you? When you like go off. So I was just sat there like in this tree, and like they were all like, "How have you even ended up there?" And like even the people at the Spanish were like, "Oh, like what's going on?" Like, I don't know.
Just ended up there.
But by the end of the holiday, we'd been like 3 or 4 times, and by the end, I was pretty good. I was better than Bry. Shout out to Bry. I was better than Bry by the end. And down the straights, I was rapid.
Yeah, but that's not skill.
That's not skill. That's just being light.
I'm quite lucky. So Russell, my mum's boyfriend, used to race motorcycles like in his younger years. His son is actually runs his own like motorcycle like shop part like where they like import stuff in and stuff like that. And Russell like watches all F1 and all that sort of stuff. And because he used to race motorbikes, like his understanding of lines, how to actually kind of drive and stuff like that is really, really good. And I've probably gone go-karting like maybe 20, 30 times with him. Yeah, no, that'd actually be quite good. And so I just always copied him because he'd know exactly where to go. And I'd have like that mentality of like, I don't really care if I just don't care if I end up crashing. Like I'll just fly into him. So I'd say I'm go-karting, I'm way above average. Like I'm good at go-karting. I'd back myself against like most people.
Sam, at some point on this podcast, you're gonna have to clip up every time that Reece says that he's like above average or really good at something.
I didn't say this, mate. I just sound more arrogant.
Like if we went back through all these podcasts, I guarantee that we'll find like in probably every other podcast there's something that you're amazing.
I'm confident at go-karting. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's it. There's no need to say anything more than that.
But you know when you say like, oh, I think I'd be good at it. Yeah. You don't have to tell me that you think you're above average or that you like. You just say, I think I'd be better than you.
I don't know. No, am I just going to go? Yeah, I think I'm alright at go-kart. No, I know I'm good at go-kart.
Yeah, because that's we're not good podcast.
No, but if you were to say to me anything else, I go, oh no, I'm awful. Ask me about badminton. Oh, I'm shocking at badminton. Tennis, awful.
See, I think I'd
do. But what's the difference there?
Yeah, but I won't.
Because you call me out when I say it.
Because it's how you say it. Because you go, I'm above average. Like mate, I guarantee you are. We're probably above average at most things we do because we're not.
Oh, we're above. Oh, Sam, cut that out. Cut that out. Get that bit. Oh, I think just we're above average. Oh no.
No, but you know, it's how you say it. It's funny. It's like you have to premise it with, I'm probably above average, or I'm probably like I'm this good at it. Like instead of being like, yeah, I'm pretty good, or I reckon I'd beat you. Like,
I think that's a bit of over-analysis there, if I'm honest.
I reckon
that
you
is a
do
bit
me.
over-analysis.
It's just how you say it.
Okay.
I reckon we could find them all.
Okay.
Especially whenever we talk about water polo.
No, I'm good now. Water polo, guys. Let me tell you about water polo.
I think you would probably beat me at go-karting.
We should do it.
But the thing is, I think the first 2 or 3 laps I'd be awful, and then I'd get to grips with it, and I'd be pretty good.
Would Shannon do it? Why did we go me, Shannon,
know.
Sanaa? Does Shannon not like it?
I feel like it's something she wouldn't want to do.
Sanaa loved it when we went in Liverpool, so it was really good. Yeah.
I can't imagine Shannon enjoying go-karting. Yeah, fuck it, we'll just go.
Yeah, I mean, the boys.
Yeah,
The boys will go. Right, so, Moose has also asked.
Yeah, well, just while we're on that, I'd absolutely annihilate you at badminton tennis.
Yeah, you would do. 100%. How good are you though, mate? Come on, do it with me.
No, growing up,
so much better.
Growing up, I was good.
Really? I'm awful.
At tennis, I was very good at tennis at one point. I wasn't amazing, but I was above average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are things like, what's an unexpected sport that you're good at? Or unexpected, well, not sport, but activity. Think something that you're like darts. I'm awful at darts.
Again, I would be awful now, but I had a darts board growing up and I was good at it because I practiced. But I'd be awful now.
Pool, we were so bad.
Yeah, but again, it's just practice. Like, if we had a pool table and we played an hour a day every night, we'd be good in 2 weeks. We wouldn't be amazing. We wouldn't be playing in professional leagues, but we'd be pretty good. It's just practice. So I was decent at darts growing up. I was decent at tennis. I was decent at badminton because we played those sports like at school and stuff.
I haven't played really at all. Yeah.
I used to love tennis.
Yeah. I like tennis, but I wasn't very good at it. And I was annoyed that I wasn't very good at it.
Yeah. Me and Will, one of my mates, like practiced it. We used to play like through summer holidays. We'd play like probably 3-4 hours a day. Like this is when we were like secondary school. Yeah. So we were playing that.
When Wimbledon was on, everyone used to play, and everyone would bring their tennis rackets, and then it would turn off. Like no one would bring.
Yeah. After like 2 weeks, it was done.
Right. Who have you got lined up on the next to come on the pod? / who's been asked most to come on? Well, we said Josh Coggin a few times. Yeah. We had a list.
Should I go through this?
Yeah, if you want. But the problem is obviously with the locations. We said that we want to get people who are more like location based in the sense of like obviously local to us, so we're not having to get someone to travel. And then also it would be where like ideally we'd either get a training session in, which would move the day we do it around, because if someone's travelling for an hour or two, it'd be good if we could get a session in, obviously, and stuff like that.
Zach Daniels of Zach Daniels Fitness.
Zach Daniels would actually. Zach Daniels would be really good to get on, because Zach's a proper good lad. Yeah, I like.
So we've got Macca Morris.
Yep.
Sanaya and Shannon.
Yeah.
Adam Powell we've had on.
Yep.
Mark Hector. Josh,
if he follows me back on Instagram.
Josh Maley, AJ Morris, Senior
Morris.
Jack Thorburn, Nathan Stiles, Dan Bastick.
Thorburn's been on too many podcasts. We're not having Thorburn on. Jack, you've been on too many podcasts.
I think Thorburn would be good.
Thorburn would be good, I think, with us. Because we're not going to ask him the generic questions.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. Yeah. Dan Bastick, Jack Buff, Matthew Chapman, BWD. We started to put clients down. Like I put Millie down. I've got Niall down. Like I think that's mainly just to sort of chat to them about prep and stuff like that. Yeah. But again, like I wouldn't be like, oh, make sure you travel to the podcast studio. Like it's
Josh and Noah would be good to get on.
Yeah, Josh and Noah would be good. Yeah. Zach Daniels of Zach Daniels Fitness.
We said Mark Cooper's. You know Mark. What's his name?
Yeah, Hudson.
Yeah.
Mark Hudson. Lewis Jones.
Yeah.
Future Physiques, Ethan Kavanagh, we do like Ethan, Mbappe as he's called.
Yeah. Or Josh calls him Mbappe.
Or world's strongest single-arm Dorian Yates rower.
Yeah.
Jovan.
Yeah.
Everybody's forgot about him.
Yeah, just disappeared.
Jovan's disappeared, yeah. Josh Dougal.
Yeah.
He's big.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
David Langsdale.
Who? Have you actually got him down? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a few others. So yeah, I mean, we have a couple of times put like a story on of who you'd like, and that's like that. Not all of those people came up, but like Lewis came up a couple of times. I think Mark Hector came up a couple of times. AJ obviously comes up. Thorburn comes up. We've had George Osborne on. So yeah, if you're someone you really really want, just ask us. Oh, we're going to do Mum's episode. My mum actually spoke about it the other day, and my mum said, like one of the first things she said when I got there, she was like, "Oh, you're not my favourite son, Reece is." And I was like, you've never even met him.
Not yet. Well, that's what you think.
Yeah.
That's what you think, but you don't know that. Met loads.
No, we should do that. I think it would be a funny episode getting mums on.
What? Just your mum and then my mum?
We could do both, or we do them separate.
I think doing like a separate and then a together one would be good.
Yeah,
so like
just trying to get 4 people around.
Yeah, if we drafted one in and was like, right, 20 mins, then another 20 mins, and then you do them together, that'd be quite good. You know,
we'd have to tell your mum you're on gear.
Oh, don't say that.
I'd 100% bring it up.
Oh mate, yeah, she knows.
Yeah, I think you'd be weird about it.
No, she knows.
I think you'd be weird about it.
Okay.
You're being weird about it now.
Okay, so let's carry on. No, mate, don't say that. It's just because people will take that out of context and be like, "Oh, you're joking." This is the thing. This is like what that Cam Z Fitness said. Because we joke.
No, but 100%. If and when we do the podcast with your mum and we talk about steroids, I think you'll be weird about it.
I don't think I'd be weird about it, mate. She asks me all the time. I say she hasn't asked me recently, but she asks me all the time. She says, She
helps you. She pins you.
No. Jesus Christ. Right. Is the use all your tools at the start approach to a deficit effective for most people?
We've talked about this loads.
Yeah.
We've spoken about how much we've changed it. We've changed the game. We've changed it to do use all your tools, haven't we? Yeah. Is that what they're asking?
Yeah, is the use all your tools at the start
approach. So they're asking our new approach.
Yeah, like our new approach. So basically, should we throw the kitchen sink, clean your him in T3, T4?
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about.
No, we don't say that. I feel like this is such a basic question to something we've gone into detail with.
Yeah, we have spoken about that quite a bit.
Yeah, that's like, if you were to watch it, we'd struggle to synthesize an answer based off just that. Like, that would need to be more specific for us to go into greater detail.
Maybe the past couple of episodes, I wouldn't know which one it was exactly, but we definitely spoke about it, and we kind of said that the traditional idea is like, don't use all your tools at once, because then what are you going to do? Whereas we've said, actually, use a good amount of your tools, get them all out, and use everything that you need, and then put them back in the toolbox when you don't need them, or you can basically start reversing out. Yeah, that's the analogy. So, for example, there's nothing wrong with dropping your food quite low at the start of a prep because you've got a lot of fat. There's nothing wrong with doing a lot of steps at the start of a prep because you've got a lot of fat. There's nothing wrong with doing a lot of cardio. I'm not saying chuck all the drugs and everything else at it, but in terms of, especially looking at it from a natural side of things, I've had clients where I've pulled off like 400 carbs to start their prep, and they're like, what? That's loads of food. And I'm like, yeah, but you're still on 300 carbs.
Yeah.
You're not going to finish your prep on 300 carbs, or your carbs are going to get lower than 300. So why would we just wait and wait and wait? Like, I'm not saying you should do that for everyone, and I haven't done that with everyone. It's not like with every single individual you should just put their food as low as humanly possible just because they've got fat to lose. Like, that's not what we're saying, but don't be afraid to make significant changes. Don't be so sort of tentative at the start of a prep when you've got a lot of fat.
Yeah.
Like, be aggressive at the start and be tentative towards the end. And there's nothing wrong with if you gain weight in the last 6 to 8 weeks of a prep. There's nothing wrong with that if you were ready early and you just look better. Like, that is great. Like, if you can be ready, let's say maybe 6 to 8 weeks is quite long, especially if you've got multiple shows. But let's say that is like just one show. If you're ready 6 weeks early, I'd be like, this is mint. Yeah, you're good, because we're just going to work back up from here. And think how many times people will go, oh, I looked so much better like 2 weeks after the show, or especially the day after the show when stress has dropped off. Like, if you can kind of encompass that by getting ready early and then reversing out and working your food up and dropping your fatigue, basically plan for as if the show was a month earlier than it actually is. Amazing. Yeah. And in order to do that, you're probably going to need to be aggressive at the start rather than sort of wait it out and then be like, oh shit, I'm behind, now I need to be aggressive, because you didn't use the tools. Use the tools and then put them back.
Yeah. Good one.
Yeah.
Good answer. Yeah.
You got any more?
I think 2 more, mate. Yeah.
Danny Regan, do a keepy up competition between you and Reece on the pod.
Finn would win.
I'm above average at kick-ups.
Yeah.
Right, in all seriousness, there's a video on YouTube, I think it's still on there, of me. I think I was like 11, or I don't know how old I was, but it's titled like 11-year-old does 200 and something kick-ups. I don't know what it was. And I was in the garden, and my mum was filming, and I was doing kick-ups, and I had my nanny top on, nanny 17, Man United. It was black. I think it was black with like the grey stripes, sort of gold. Yeah,
it was gold. Yeah.
I even had I'm sure I had a Man United like beanie hat on.
Jesus Christ. This is who I train with, and I class as my best mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clash is best mate, but that's mad.
Oh my god. Right, and I would. The thing is as well, like I could probably do more than that now, but I was so buzzed at the time. The thing is, mate, like if you go on it, you'll see my garden.
Were they good keeping?
Oh mate, I was all over the garden.
Oh yeah,
I was
literally.
Yeah, they weren't awful. Mate, I saw a video the other day. It was Ivan Toney. And it was like, I'm Ivan Toney. He was like, he must have been like 16 or something. He was like a young lad. He was like, I'm Ivan Toney. I'm a striker. And he was doing like skills and kick-ups. Honestly, he's awful. He can't play football. Like
you seen Jordan Henderson in his like Sunderland days?
Yeah,
look like
amazing.
Look like Ronaldinho.
Yeah, amazing.
Literally look like
He's
Ronaldinho.
good at football.
Yeah.
Ivan Toney is not good at football. Like I'm saying, he's doing well. In
Finn's
the
agenda against Finn has, for people that aren't aware, the number one agenda against Ivan Toney. Finn
if you
despises
went on Twitter and just
Ivan
put
Toney.
like young Ivan Toney, it'll probably come up, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, he looks awful. He looks like he can't play. He's like trapping the ball and like standing on it. It's awful.
Did you see Ousmane Dembele when he signed for Barca?
Oh, and he couldn't do kick-ups.
Yeah, he was like, he tried to do some flick over his head and the ball like bounced off him, yeah. And then like, what was it, like 3 years ago, they were like, I can't remember who they signed or someone, he was just like doing keep-ups for fun, or Real Madrid signed somebody. And it was like, then you go and sign Ousmane Dembele for like 100+ mil and he can't even do a keep-up.
In all seriousness, I think that does show the quality of a player. Like, if you can't just do a few kick-ups, a couple around the world, you can't do a bit of skill, like,
yeah.
I don't think you're a very good footballer.
But there's a difference between being a footballer and being a baller.
Yeah.
You know, like Ivan Toney probably isn't a baller.
No, but he's a good footballer.
Good footballer.
I was a baller, but I wasn't a good footballer.
Mohamed Salah, if you were to put Mohamed Salah, to be fair, his touch probably would be good, but I bet Salah isn't as impressive as Eden Hazard. You know,
that is good. That is a good example.
Yeah.
I was better at skills and doing kick-ups and five-a-side than I was at actual football.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd win.
Okay.
I mean, we could do it. We'll do it.
No, I wouldn't even want to try. Finn would destroy him. I'd get like 15 max. Maybe. I could maybe go on a good run if I got lucky, but I wouldn't even try. Right. Would you rather do the first 99% of head or the last 1%? So 99% or last 1%?
99.
Yeah, 99. Yeah, 99. I don't want.
I don't want that. We don't say what it is.
We don't want that in my mouth.
We don't want that, do we?
No,
don't want that.
We'd rather not.
Conran _101. My client Conran, not your Conran. What drove you and Reece to start going to the gym and actually training seriously?
It wasn't really anything like I could just put it as like specific. We've answered this before, like in terms
what
of
kind of got us into training, didn't we?
Well, yeah, it was one of my mates was like wanting to bulk up, bruh, for rugby, and I was an overweight kid who played a bit too much Call of Duty and was like, I probably could get into this. Didn't really like it. Carried on because he carried on. He then stopped. I actually continued because my granddad like almost peer pressured me to be like, the hell are you going to do if you're not training? And I then, after like a whole summer of going to the gym, looked at myself and went, oh, I actually look alright. And I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the aspect of progression, but it was never a case because I was so young and there wasn't really any information out there. Like it was 2013, 2012. Like it was just a case of, oh cool, I'm doing my exercises that I've looked on some YouTube videos for, and what feels good for me. I'm copying a few people who are bigger than me in the gym, and then eventually you start pushing yourself. And I remember seeing people who were pressing like 2-3 plates on a bench, thinking that looks quite cool. I'd quite like to do that when I'm pressing 10 kilos per side. And then it's just a case of that kind of ever want to be a little bit better, and then eventually you get to a point where you're like, oh, I actually train pretty hard. But it was never a case of like day one of 2023, imagine 2023 I'm going to start trying. And imagine it'd be the best bodybuilder ever if I started trying this year. Yeah. But let's say it wasn't a case where I just woke up on my 14th or 15th birthday and was like, right, this is when I'm going to take this serious.
It's not like a pin drop moment or where the sort of
I never missed sessions even when I started. Like I never missed sessions. It wasn't ever a case of like I just used to go to the gym and just used to enjoy it. Like after the first couple of months of not enjoying it, and then it was just like part of my routine. I never went home on the school bus ever because I used to just literally take my gym stuff. The second that school would be done, I'd just go to the gym and I'd train, and that was literally just what I did. Like my mum would pick me up when she was finished at work at like 6ish, so it was like from 3 till 6 I've got time to go to the gym, and I'd have like 2 hours. I'd eat some food when I'm done, and I'd go and train, and then I'd be like I'd like train till 6, and that was literally what it was. And I'd do that Monday to Monday really. Like I was literally doing it every day.
Do you think what actually makes you start taking it seriously is just the fact that you actually started to see progress? Because I think, for example, if after a year you looked no different, would you carry on?
I remember because I started out and I was doing loads. I was like running, not eating that much, and I remember like thinking to myself, I could probably be doing this a bit better. So I almost wanted to be doing better. So I was watching more videos, listening to more podcasts. I was like wanting to refine what I was doing, but I think it's impossible to say, like, because if you didn't see any progress, it'd be different. But then also you're getting stronger. Like I remember, like the buzz on I think it was my 14th birthday. I flat benched a plate per side for 10 reps, and it was on my 14th, and I wanted that for my birthday. And I remember I did it on my birthday, and I was like, oh, a bit sweet because on my birthday I wanted to do it like a couple of days before, I wanted to do it the week before. But I was really happy because I was like, I've got 10 reps. That's what I wanted. So it was like that was the progression for me, and then I think it just kind of continued with that. But it wasn't ever just like, okay, I want to have my legs look like this, or I want to have, you know.
But I feel like that progression does play a massive role. Like, I feel like,
especially at the initial stage.
Yeah, I think initially you have some form of driver that gets you to the gym. So like for you, it was your mate went. For me, it was my mates were going. So that gets you there. But then, like, what actually keeps you there? Because now, like, a lot of my mates don't train. Probably the guy that started when you started, does he train? Like, no. So there's something that keeps you there. And I think for me, that's probably wanting to be the best that I can be at everything that I do. Yeah. Like, I don't like stopping, you know what I mean? If it's like, unless it's something that's really not productive for me, then I want to stop. Yeah. But if it's something that I know is good for me, like I'm going to be like, right, I don't want to stop this because I know that it's good for me, and it's just a case of time. So I think then once I put enough time in, like once you start putting more time in, you want to do better. So you go, well, obviously if I'm putting this amount of time in, I should probably be learning a bit more about it. So like say you start watching YouTube videos, you start tracking your food, you start, like, I used to love tracking my food. Yeah. I used to get so excited, like planning in my MyFitnessPal, logging what can I fit in today, and what would be the best protein source for me in terms of cost, and you know, like in terms of if I go and shop at Morrison's, how much does each food cost in terms of 30 grams of protein that I want to get in. Like I used to love doing all that because I was learning and I was like experimenting with it. And I think like once I was doing all that, and like training just became part of all that, you know what I mean? Just experimenting and getting better at it.
Towards getting better.
Yeah, and then progression. Once you've done that without, I don't even think I ever used to think like, oh, I hope I'm looking bigger.
No, but I was always like that with any aspect. Like when I played FIFA when I was a kid, I'd want a better left winger. Yeah. So I'd play for a whole day, and play loads of like Division 6 games, get promoted, and I'd be like, oh, I've now bought another
just
card.
Normal? Because like I feel like every kid must surely have just like if I lost on FIFA, I was fuming.
Yeah, I was the same. Yeah.
But is that normal, or is that just how we are?
Yeah.
I think that's normal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people, like, what? Why do you even care?
No,
like,
I was always like,
I want to be good at it.
I want to be doing better. Yeah, I want to be doing better.
And then with training, like, you do that, and if you have that mentality and you want to be good at something, and you just keep at it. Yeah. Like, not only will you get better at it, but you'll also then see the results, and then that makes you be like, oh, this is working, so I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. JP, MBMT, shredded now. Yeah. He's in the trenches. Bodybuilding to make the Olympics. And then he put this emoji and then crying, laughing emoji. Yeah, put that one.
One of them. Bodybuilding to make the Olympics. What, in the sense of like?
Do you think it'll ever be in the Olympics?
Obviously the Olympics trick tested. So natural bodybuilding, maybe. Potentially.
That'd be good.
That would be good. That'd be a really good segue for natural bodybuilding to be way more popular.
I don't think it would be.
But then I don't think it would be. But I think it would be a cool way to be like, well, you can compete at the Olympics if you're natural. But
But the thing is as well, like, I don't think bodybuilding's ever going to be mainstream because it's not. No. It's not something that most people like, or it's not very appealing to the masses.
No, it's like, very odd.
If we went to the supermarket now and asked everybody that came in, do you think this looks good? And it was Big Ramy. Everybody would be like, oh my god, he looks awful. Like,
I hate to look like that. Yeah.
So it's not appealing, and it's not something that most, obviously in our realm, we think it's massive, and it is massive in this sort of certain small group of people. In the grand scheme of things, it is a small group of people.
Strongman competitions, that's on TV every year. You know, and that's like very popularised.
But I feel like that's more. It's almost more relatable in terms of like, that's strong. Like they know what's strong. They don't know what looks good in bodybuilding.
Like bodybuilding. If you were to put up, like, let's say I was to show an average individual, you've got Jeremy Buendia, Sebum and Big Ramy. Objectively speaking, Big Ramy is the best bodybuilder there relative to muscle. Maybe Sebum because he's very good.
Yeah.
But like most people would look at Sebum and Jeremy Brandia and go, even that's too much, but that looks better than that.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, he's bigger, has more muscle.
Yeah, if you
more
showed him
conditioned.
like David Lade, you'd probably go, yeah, I'd like to look like that.
Yeah, exactly. And if you were to compare then Arnold to, let's say, Arnold to Big Ramy, anyone would choose Arnold because it's not as conditioned. No, he's not as conditioned. It's not as freaky. It's like it's a good look in the sense of he's a big dude. Same as like Sebum, but obviously to an even more extreme extent.
I think with strongman,
it is
like more relatable.
Big man picks up big weight. Wow, impressive.
Yeah, and also like if you think about it, like they don't look great.
Yeah,
like they're not meant to. But like so.
And I also think as well, do you not think like when you watch something, there's going to be that level of insecurity in
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Where they're sat around eating shit food like takeaway.
I was just going to say
and if someone looks like incredibly like lean and defined, they're probably going to they're just going to make themselves feel bad.
If you watch Strongman, like, I can imagine, and this is not being harsh to anybody, but I can imagine 50-year-old bloke happy to watch Strongman because they look like big lads just training, and it's like it's quite cool for them to watch. Yeah. But if I can't imagine them ever wanting to watch bodybuilding because they're probably going to be like, well, first of all, I don't have any interest in this. No. I don't really relate to it because I don't know what they're looking for and stuff. But also, I don't want to watch blokes walking around in their pants who look good.
Yeah, or look good relatively to what the criteria is. But yeah.
So I don't think it's ever going to be popularised in the mainstream.
No.
Progress Forwards has asked me a question. I don't know. I'm going to go on their page because I don't know what that is. 29 followers.
Sick.
So basically they've asked, come up with 3 ridiculous viral marketing strategies for the podcast that you might actually do.
We need a bit of time for that.
Have sex on the podcast?
Sex on the podcast, yeah.
Might I actually do that?
Sure, right now? Yeah. Exclusive content coming soon.
Yeah. That would 100% get more views.
If we did a once you're in OnlyFans. Once you're in OnlyFans, exclusive.
Once you're in, and it'd be like...
Yeah, God, that'd be scary.
It works on so many levels, doesn't it, once you're in?
Finn takes gear.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be good, yeah. Like live on the pod, Finn hands in his natty card. Yeah. Just pin him with, like, some tests.
Anything.
Instantly, like, I just feel so much more. I just starts hitting the most muscular. Hits the most muscular. He's like, ready, let's go fucking train.
That's 2. Yeah. OnlyFans and medium from gear. 3 ridiculous viral marketing strategies for the podcast that you might actually do. Well, we're not going to actually do those 2.
Imagine if I got my gyno surgery done on the pod.
That would have been good.
That would have been funny. I was just lying down.
We could have done that.
Yeah, that would have been quite good. You know. So yeah.
I don't know what else would be a viral marketing strategy.
Yeah, viral. Anything that we could think about that would go popular? No, let's move on.
If you've got any suggestions, let us know. Progress forward.
Definitely do it. Nautilus vertical chest press. Last question for me. Any difference between neutral and horizontal grip? Yes, there is going to be a difference. Yeah, there is actually.
Leave it at that.
One's going to be here.
That's the answer.
Have you done questions?
Yeah.
One's here and one's here. No, it's going to basically depend on your elbow position relative to the bias that you want. Like, if we were to think about, let's say, if we're going for the neutral grip, it's going to naturally have our elbow a little more tucked as a result. It's going to be a little bit more tricep dominant. But I think a lot of people, and we've said this before when it comes to presses, one thing that just drives us mad is like you're still going to get good amount of chest. You're still going to get front delt. If you were to go for the, let's say, the pronated grip, like I think he said horizontal, but pronated grip. You're going for the pronated grip. It's not going to instantly have 0 tricep activation and so much more chest. There's going to be a bit more of a bias towards the chest. Elbow path is going to be the most important thing here. But if you were to manipulate your elbow path on the neutral on the pronated grip, it's going to still bias the tricep. So it's like one of them where what I would usually do, and this is what we've done on this bit of kit before, and I don't feel like we have a set position if we always do one thing. We'll kind of jump on it and go, what feels better today? Yeah. And like once we've picked, let's say if we were to have it in for a rotation for a meso, we would pick and stick with it consistently. But we'll usually end up doing, like, let's say that machine probably once every, 3 or 4 months randomly when we're at a gym with it. And we'll just kind of jump on it, see what feels better. We might band it, we might not, but we just think what feels best for us internally. So I wouldn't be thinking, okay, I need to do a close grip press because it needs to bias the tricep. I do a close grip Atlantis incline press whenever I do that. That's not to bias the tricep, it just feels better than the wide grip for me personally. Where with other people, they might go, oh, I don't really like the close grip, I prefer the wide grip because I can feel it more in my chest. And it's really a case of what feels best with you relative to your individual mechanics and relative to what you want to get out of the exercise. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's all true. Like, I would say for the vast majority of people, if you're trying to get more chest out of it, which it is a chest press machine, so you probably are, then I would probably actually use the neutral grip, just because the elbow path is going to be a little bit more favourable. Like if you're up here, I mean, like Reece said, you could adjust it. There's no reason that you have to be up here when you do a pronated grip. You could just adjust the seat height and you could be here, in which case your elbow is still going to be relatively tucked and you're still going to be in a position favourable for the pec.
Yeah.
But I think with the neutral grip, especially on that Nautilus one, it does work on a slight incline anyway, so it aligns quite nicely with those sternal fibres anyway. So I would generally recommend the neutral grip for most people most of the time when you're trying to get more chest out of it.
Yeah. Good answer. Good part. Camera's about to die.
It is.
Perfect that. Right. That's part 2.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. See you later, guys.